G'day and welcome back to the channel. I wanted to introduce to you Mount Feathertop. It's over here in the Victorian part of the Australian Alps, and as I zoom in and pan around you'll be able to tell something pretty obvious about this mountain here. It's quite a bit higher than the surrounding hills and mountains. In fact, it's the second highest in Victoria, 6,300 feet, only topped by Mount Bogong out here to the northeast. Now, looking at Mount Feathertop here from the side, I want you to imagine some wind coming from this side here towards the mountain. What's going to happen when that air mass reaches this section here? It's only really got two options. It can go over the top of the mountain or it can go around. In the case of the air moving over the hill, here is a depiction of the movement of that air mass towards, over the top, and back down the other side of the mountain. And if we were to inspect this section of air in here, we would find, even though the wind is moving up the mountain, there is a vector of that wind towards the mountain and a vector up. So as a glider, if we were flying through this section in here, we would be blown towards the mountain, but we'd also be pushed up, and that's ridge lift. That's what gliders use when they're around mountains in order to climb, when they're not using the thermic lift as you would find out in the flat. Now we'll consider another portion of air that's above that first part, also moving towards the mountain. It may look like it can travel directly over the mountain. There's nothing impeding its travel, except for this lower portion of air that's being pushed over the top and back down again. So what ends up happening with this section of air that's higher than the first is it will also follow a little bit of a curved path like the lowest section. And again, if we're higher, the air will also follow a curve. And you get this effect where air that's significantly higher than the mountain can be lifting, and some very, very high altitudes can therefore be attained in the glider. I have an experience with mountain wave exactly like this that was caused by Mount Feathertop, and I have some footage today to share with you about that flight. This is a pair of Nimbus 3s. The one at the front is a 3DT. It's a two-seater and has a turboprop sustainer. The wing aspect ratio is over 35, and it has a best glide ratio of 55:1. It's a super ship of the 80s, and today I was going to have a flight with its owner, the same legend from my last video with a Nimbus, John McWilliam. I met John over at the tie-down area and helped take the wing covers off the beautiful aircraft. We hooked it on to the Mitsubishi Sigma to tow it out to the airfield. It was going to be a nice day. There was a lot of people outside, and while dusty and warm, the conditions were forecast to be really good. I was going to be in the back. There I am, absolutely enjoying myself, and we haven't even started flying yet. There's the view from the back and the controls I have access to. It was 12:30 and club operations were in full swing, training in the K-21s despite the dusty conditions.
I have control. Papa Echo to X-ray Papa for radio check and 60 knots.
Reading you 5 and copy the 60 knots. Bravo X-ray Papa. Number traffic, glider cars, Bravo X-ray Papa, rolling 17 left, glider in tow, traffic Vanilla.
Traffic Vanilla and Bravo X-ray Papa, this is X-ray Bravo X-ray Squirrel, we're crossing F17 extended center line approximately 4 miles south of the field, 2,300.
I've got a separate shot here of Papa Echo taking off for reference. I was also lucky to see this flight, the turbo being tested.
Right. Don't believe. It's unusual to actually be able to discern him when he's thermal with all that noise around. We're miles above him.
So we thermaled up just east of the airfield and headed out to the mountains. I must say it's pretty hard to not look out at those long wings and feel like you're in a pretty special flying machine. As you can see here, and out we continued east to Mount Buffalo. A favourite location on my channel, it must be said. Now being about 1:30 PM, the day was warming, the thermals were stronger and easier to centre, and queues were starting to form over the hills.
Oh, there's another one behind us, look.
Oh yeah. We knew we were going to have a good day.
They're really short-lived. He's glowing above us. We're a hell of a height up anyway, so we just go on.
Yeah.
We take one run through it and then go. As the distance, they're the ones I want.
Yeah, they look nice.
But we should start to getting help from the valley, from the wall of the mountain now.
And just now we're about to have contact with the first cumulus cloud of the day. We were going to have a fantastic climb.
Wow, you should get a video of that.
I am, I'm videoing
It's
this.
spectacular, isn't it?
Lovely.
That's the ski place down there.
Yeah. There was plenty last season on here.
Is there?
I think late as September we could see it.
Yeah. Later, I think we would have got it on the front.
Yeah.
It was just not ready for its big move. 7.3.
The way it should be, eh?
This looks brilliant here now. This other one.
Yeah.
But we're doing okay where we are. Over 6 knots.
With this extra height, we continued even further out east checking out Mount Beauty and the valley in this photo, and the dinner plane shown here, and continued south now past Mount Hotham and checked out the ski resort with no snow in it, given that it was February. And from here we continued to Mount Feathertop, and this is where something really interesting happened. So I've got the flight playing here at true speed 1:1 on CU. This was a thermal we took above Mount Feathertop. You can see the helix here of a normal thermic climb, in 3D space. That's what it tends to look like. And we're having a great time climbing through 10,000 feet underneath this cloud at about 10 knots. But we reach cloud base just about here, and that means we want to leave the thermal and continue our flight. We don't want to fly into the cloud. So what we do, in fact I was flying at this point and John was giving me some pointers, is we straighten out here at the top, we accelerate, and we actually fly out from underneath this cumulus. And what John feels once we leave the cloud and we're beyond the edge of it is a significant updraft. And he says, wait a minute, give me the controls. And instead of continuing on and flying straight, he decides to make a turn. And we're then outside the front of this cumulus cloud. I think he makes a turn to the right. Yes, here he goes. Pulling up in front of the cloud. Oh no, I'm wrong. Yeah, out to the left here. And flies parallel with the cloud. At this section here, we are now flying above the cloud. This was cloud base here, and this is where my footage starts, so I'll bring that on now.
Yeah. See it climbing up the front?
Mm-hmm.
We're going to get final glide from here, Look, have you done this before?
Nope. Never
4
been up the
knots.
side of a cube.
Look, are you videoing this?
It's on video.
What? Look at it! 5 knots. Silence.
Above all them, aren't we?
Turning again. Just down in front of the biggest bit of the clouds where the most powerful wave will be, okay?
Yep.
Oh, this is brilliant. Look at it. Minimum sync speed. We're not going to raise, we're going to stay here.
I can see a circular rainbow below us as well.
The steer, of course, to stay just out in front of it. It's like hill soaring, ridge soaring.
Yeah.
5.5 knots, 5.6.
Perfectly smooth.
This is unbelievable.
Oh, that's even stronger now.
6.2, 6.3.
Holy smokes.
Gotta stay in front. I was in Scotland one time and the guys flew behind between me and the wave cloud in the K6E and he disappeared inside. And he finished up in a snowdrift. This is magic, absolute magic. You see it rolling up the front?
Yeah. Spectacular.
It really is. What a hoot. I love this sort of dead smooth thing. It's a real chest player game.
We're at above 12. Do you want oxygen? I've never used oxygen before, but I can pass it through here if you want.
So what, have you done your map run? Have a look at the map and see how we are for airspace. Let's see what the issues are.
On the Udi.
On the map on the hand.
Oh, I see. Yep, hang on. Let's see. So we are. There's Mount Beauty. There's Harrietville. We're above Feathertop, aren't we? It's not written on this map. We're just a bit too far south of the.
Stay upwind of it.
Still getting 4 knots. Look at that in front. Isn't that just the best picture ever?
So we have to be at flight number 125. Going back in over Buller.
There's two things just then that John had introduced to me as a cross-country beginner as I was in February 2019. First of all, being so high that I have to use oxygen, so we sorted that out. And also running into airspace being high. We didn't, we stayed below it. But there's a section of airspace here for the Melbourne to Sydney flights, basically. We don't want to meet any airliners up here.
Unbelievable.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow.
It isn't quite picked up here on the video quality, but we're at such a height where we can see south about 150 kilometres to the actual seafront. The air was clear, there wasn't much dust in it, and we could see all the way to the ocean.
Now, I think just for the sake of it, rather than first leave that, I'll go back here where we know there's waves.
Yeah.
Just to make sure we get the 15. We're rather fun to say, well, we got the 15. 14.95. Heroes climb. Inexorably.
We're bloody 12,000 feet above the ground.
That is wild.
Here's where we took off before, looking at the CU program. I'll play at significantly faster speed so you can see the path that we travel is back and forth in front of this cloud, climbing the whole way. Now that's exactly what nice wave looks like. It's quite sharp. You can see this climb in here is very strong because we're moving up quite fast. It gets a little bit weaker as we get higher up, but we just managed to go back and forth, and climbing up the front of the cumulus, then above, and then beyond. Here's a view of the altimeter at our highest point, just a touch over 15,000 feet. The view down onto the clouds at that altitude, and finally flying past another ski resort, Mount Buller, on the way back home.
Banana Pop Echo is finals for 17 left.
Here's from the top of that wave section, the really long glide we have that was about an hour and a half long and went for about 150 kilometers. Fantastic glide ratio of the Nimbus 3 DT that we're in. We pushed off, travelled to the south, that's where we could see right to the ocean, and then back. A couple of little turns through the Mansfield Valley, all the way back to Benalla, speeding up as we got close and realising that we would make it back easily. Very successful flight. And here's the OLC version of events as we travelled beyond Mount Buffalo and then climbed in front of Feathertop up to 15,000 feet, and this wonderful glide all the way back. Hope you enjoyed that video, and thanks again, John, for all the times you've taken me up. I really hope you and the rest of the POMs can make it back to our club as soon as possible. Cheers, everyone.